Welcome to the Unpacking Sunday podcast, where we take a deeper look at what God is speaking to you, to our church, and to the world around us. So grab a coffee, sit back, and let's unpack it together. Hello, Michael.
This is our third time trying to start this.
We had a little bit of
podcast.
Technical blips, but we're back. We're good.
And look at, we both have signal. We both have signal.
Yeah, it's good. We're doing good.
1, 2.
This
1,
is
2.
working.
All right. We were talking really briefly about my cup before that no one's going to hear about
You
that
have a very high quality looking cup that says the name of our church.
It says Revive City Church.
Yes,
we
it
actually have a
does.
merch store.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
If you just go to revivecity.ca and there's a banner at the top of our website that says get your Revive City merch, and you can just go order it directly for yourself.
So if I wanted like a Revive City hoodie,
it's there.
I could order one?
You could go there, pick your size, pick your color, and it'll ship it straight to your house.
Wow.
That's how I got this cup. And then I ordered a hat. It's supposed to come today as well. A Revive City hat.
Wow.
I got black.
Yeah. Are we doing flat brim? Is it trucker caps?
It's a
Snapbacks?
I don't know anything about it. It's just like a baseball cap.
A baseball cap, okay.
And it's black.
Okay.
And I'll show it to you tomorrow.
I can't wait.
Because I hopefully will have it.
Yeah.
So you can do that too if you just go to revivecity.ca and click get your merch.
Am I allowed to lead worship with a Revive City hat on?
If it's branded, yeah. If it's branded
Oh,
Revive
really?
City.
A world of opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
I also
cool.
got a quarter zip.
Okay.
Like, who doesn't love a quarter zip these days?
Oh, yeah. Very cool. Very classy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could do that anyway.
Okay. Very cool.
So
Good to know.
if you want to do that, Luke,
I do want to do that.
We don't have. I was hoping we'd have socks. We don't have socks yet. That would be cool to have socks.
Revive City defibrillators, maybe?
To revive people.
Yeah.
I
We should
get
do
it.
that.
I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we're pumped, and we were also talking about how we're going to have a new jingle.
Yes, we will
the
have a new
podcast.
jingle. Yeah, every time I edit these podcasts, I'm like, ooh, because it's got our previous name on it, the Cariboo Road.
Well-loved name.
Yeah, well-loved. Well-used and well-loved. But over July, August, I will be creating a new intro for the show. So I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome.
Let's get this March for Jesus out of the way, and then I can start thinking about that.
Yes, the march is coming up in 2 weeks.
That's true. It's going to be
crazy.
Yeah.
It's going to be wild.
It is going to be wild.
Who knows what's going to happen? We're thinking thousands. We're hoping thousands
I hope so.
of people.
I hope so. You know why? Jesus is awesome.
Yeah, he is.
And worth marching for.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, very well.
The summer will be fun. We've got
very much so.
all of those.
Yeah.
We've got our Is It True series coming up, and we've got a few spots left. So if people want to put in a question that they want to talk about.
I have random ideas come into my mind at random times, and you're very gracious.
You keep throwing them at me, and I'm like, these are great ideas.
Awesome. Well, you're very gracious.
What was the last one that you said?
I thought we should focus on the God helps those who help themselves.
Who help themselves.
Is that biblical?
No.
No, it's not.
No.
Actually, I think it's counter-biblical.
It's pretty much the opposite.
Yeah, there you go. So, look
but
forward to...
let's not give too much away because we will talk about it.
Forward to unpacking that.
We're also going to launch the series on Sunday with everyone's favorite comment. At least we use it all the time when people say things we don't like. Only God can judge me.
Oh, wow. There's a lot there.
We're going to talk about that. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. I think we've given some previews, but the point is there are some spots left. If you have a question, send it in to the church. Call Luke, email Luke, grab him on Sunday and tell him, or anybody. Yeah. And we will try to squeeze it in. But this week we had a special guest, Pastor Murphy Ode. Tell me about that.
Murphy is a legend.
The Nigerian legend.
Yeah, he is so passionate.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a shock to the senses, I think, when you're used just being Canadian in my docile state of, not really being used to such a range and volumes in my my preachers. But it really is very passionate. And at some points, it's like, I think it's really cool to actually see how, because obviously there's a lot of cultural influence there and stuff. So he's very much a Nigerian preacher, which is very cool and very passionate. So I felt he communicated really well. He spoke to us about no greater love, right? So so let's unpack that. But how did you enjoy the sermon?
I enjoyed it.
Good.
Yes. Who doesn't love that story of the lost son? What a good story. And then before we even got there, Murphy was talking to us about all that Jesus has done for us and posing this question over and over for us of like, how can we really say that God doesn't love us, or he's not there for us, or he doesn't see us, or he doesn't care for us when we evaluate all that Jesus did for us?
Right.
Those two things don't go very well together.
Wow. Right.
And so that's kind of confronting, because I think whether we articulate it or not, we all have been in seasons, even as believers, where we're wondering, does God really see me? Does he care?
Right.
Does God love me still?
Right.
And the answer comes quickly when you review
for sure
that.
Well, even I was recently listening to this teaching about and just bringing to the idea of God's sovereignty, about placing your money where your mouth is if you believe in God's sovereignty. And if you do in fact believe that God is sovereign, then every detail of history lines up to where we are today, and how Jesus, being when and where and who he was planned and lined up from the very beginning. So every detail was planned out so that things could be perfectly timed.
Right.
That is God's love for us.
That's wild, right?
That's God's love for us, that he planned it, every detail. And so, there's obviously things in there above our pay grade and above our understanding, because God's a billion places at once. But yeah, it's like, you almost have to kind of draw a line in the sand. Do you believe in God's sovereign hand? Do you believe in his, lining everything up and using all things for his good? Or do you believe that it's all a bit of a fluke, and that, how can God be sovereign and know the future if there is fluctuation? Right? So yeah, it's just a wild thing to think about, because it begins to become a lot bigger than we can actually contemplate. But that God's love brought Jesus for us, and everything needed to line up in place.
Right.
That's wild.
And everything was purposeful up to that moment.
Yeah.
And still now, but reflecting back to that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time I heard that, like, about the gospel, because so often growing up and even as adults, we hear the gospel as like a response to humanity's sinfulness.
Right.
Like, oh, shoot, Adam and Eve sinned in the garden. I better do something about that.
Engage plan F.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not the case, because Revelation says since the foundations of the earth, Jesus was slain for us. Right? So that means, like, before God ever created you, he already had a plan to show you his great love for you. Yeah. Right? And so that's crazy. Yeah. Right? And he still went through with it just to show you that he loves you and cares for you, and that he's sovereign and mighty and all of these things. So it's kind of wild. And then we see that played out in this very famous parable of the lost son that Murphy talked about on Sunday. Yeah. So give us a lowdown of the parable of the lost son.
Well, I love this parable. I've actually written a song about this parable, a couple really.
Could you sing it for us, a little bit of it?
Yeah, well, there's two songs, but the chorus of the song is like, I'm not worth this ring, I'm not worth this robe, but you lavish your love and you call me your own. You open your arms, it's where I belong. And I'm so overwhelmed that you welcome me home. You welcome me home. So there you go. There's the chorus to that song, but it's called The Ring and the Robe. And it's about this idea of, like just the overwhelming grace that God shows, and how this image of the Father, the bridge in that song is like, you never thought twice, you didn't hesitate when you saw me coming. You saw my shame. You looked past my shame, you called my name, and you came running, right? So it's this idea that, and there's so much there, but it's the idea if you aren't familiar with it, which I'm sure you are, but let's just do it anyway for the sake of podcast, is that you have a father who has two sons. The youngest says to the father, which in a sense is basically a wish, that I wish you would die so that I could have your inheritance.
Right.
The father gifts the son with his inheritance. The son goes to a faraway land and squanders and blows his inheritance. And then a famine comes, and he finds himself in a desolate, desperate state, and is reminded that even the servants in his father's house live better than the way I live. So he humbles himself, and he comes back to his homeland and to his father, expecting to be maybe a slave or a servant in his house. And the father runs to him and accepts him, and he slays the fattened calf, and he gives him a symbol of being like the leadership, the future of their household, and a cloak, which was, obviously a gift, but also a symbol of like inheritance and heirship. And then he, welcomes him in with this party and says, like, my lost son is returned, when there was no reason to celebrate that in many cases, or in any case, the son would be considered dead, would be considered, a shame to the family, and that, you're dead to me kind of situation. But that is not the way God works. And that's why this picture is so poignant and beautiful. There's a lot there. Even just the fact that the father would run in their culture, in the hierarchy of the household, the father would never run, but to be able to have a shameful act, this is like kind of where the idea of this reckless love comes from. And people are kind of roll their eyes at that, but it's like, no, God was willing to humble himself, come down from heaven to do all these, ground level things, to reduce himself to our level, so that he could win us over and bring us close to him again. And it's it's beautiful, and there's a reason why it's so popular.
Yeah, I was quite confronted this week listening to it, when Murphy was talking about like how insulting it is to ask for your inheritance in advance.
Yeah.
Right? And you're pretty much saying you'd rather your father be dead and just take what you can get from him. Mm-hmm. And I was like quite confronted with like, how often do we do that with God? Is like, I'd rather you just get out of here and I'll take what I can get from you.
Right.
But I really want nothing to do with you, and I'm going to go live my life the way that I want to.
Right.
And we've all done that.
Yeah.
And then when we've squandered our lives away and we realize that this was useless, we come running back.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild that we've probably done it multiple times.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's it's a really like what's the word? A sobering thought.
Yeah.
It's like, it just kind of like how God is so slow to anger, and how we're just so unworthy of the extravagant gifts he gives us, and that we're so quick to often just to throw it away, or to not be willing to take our faith or our walk to a place where it would inconvenience others, or make us look a certain way, when God is just continually pouring out his grace and his mercy and his forgiveness on us. And it just, to me, it makes me want to be like, scream it from the mountaintops kind of thing, as opposed to this idea of keep it contained and live my quiet life, and that kind of thing. So
yeah, there's a lot of points in that story where we could check ourselves, like even the point at the very beginning, like the son was obviously dissatisfied about something, that he was leaving the safety and the prosperity of his father's home, right? And he thinks he can do better.
Yeah.
If he could just take what he can get from his dad, take all the benefits of it, and pretty much wish his dad dead, which really, that's what humanity did to Jesus. We'll take what we want from you and then literally crucify you, and then go and squander our lives however we want to. And so as I'm just like listening to the story, I'm like, oh, I've done that. I've done that. I've done that. I've done that. And at no point does the father like hesitate to receive his son back. Right. But like for us in my humanity, like any of those things, if my kid were to do them, I'd be chapped.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be like, what are you saying? Why do you want that? Why are you doing that? And yet all of this compounded, right?
Right.
And still the son is received with open arms.
Right. I think there's something impactful about that, where there's no sign within this story that the father even remembers that he left and that he squandered. Like, there was a cost to his leaving.
Mm-hmm.
He took half of the wealth of the family's wealth,
Right.
and so it's like, there's an impact there,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no sign that he even. It's like that it's even in his mind that he left.
No, the priority is, oh, he was lost and now he's found.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he was pretty much dead and now he's alive.
Yeah.
Right? And so what was behind doesn't so much matter in light of what we have now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's kind of the mentality that the father seems to have in the story. And perhaps that's how God views us, is like, sure, there's a whole path to our story.
For sure.
And yet it pales in comparison to this. Wow, you were dead and now you're alive.
Wow, yeah, for sure.
Right, and that's what's worthwhile. Oh, you were lost and now you're found and you're brought back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's like restored back to his original place.
Yeah.
It's not like he returned, the son returns because he thinks like, oh, even being a servant in my father's house would be better than eating with pigs.
Right.
He would have been fine just being a servant in his father's house.
Yeah.
Like that's the attitude he came home with.
Wow.
But he's restored back to being a son.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, wow, that's it. There's no greater love. That's what Murphy would say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's always been impactful for me is this image of the next day, when the son kind of wakes up. They've had this kind of party into the long hours of the night. They've celebrated it. But the son is the same person. He has the same memories of these decisions that he's made. But he wakes up and he has to choose to put this ring and this robe on, to like, today I'm going to, in spite of who I was, in spite of what I've done, this ring and this robe are mine. And God has gifted me with, now turning it to a believer's walk, with this incredible status. How am I going to choose to live my life today? Am I going to live my life kind of asking again for another inheritance, or am I going to change and see the value of what God's done so that I can choose to be a valuable member of this household? It's like, that's just something that I had heard years ago, and I was like, oh, that just hit me. Like, we got to, put the ring and the robe on, and choose to be a son that's worthy of the name that God's given me,
Yeah, there's like a real reality to the situation that would have had to occur after.
Right.
And even you could almost be like, oh, perhaps. I would just be shocked, like kind of if I was that guy, and then you wake up the next morning and realize, oh, this, like, it wasn't a dream.
It wasn't a dream.
Right? Like, I'm still here. And like you said, if only, like, this is being presented to me again today, right? And all I have to do is really, I guess, like we talk about this in scripture, we just apprehend what God has given us, right? And like you said, we put on the robe and we put on the ring, and it is too good to be, it feels too good to be true. Yeah. But it's true.
Right.
Right? Yeah. And so long as you would receive it each day.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of that, like when you were speaking, just even the scripture that reminds us like about the working out of our salvation every day.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's such a good reminder of like, what does this mean for me today? That again, like I'm a child of God, that again, I'm set free when I woke up, when God saw fit to wake me up today. What does that mean? That's wild. And to work that all out into every area of your life. And I don't do this perfectly, but like how do you do that? So what does this mean for how I'm going to show up to work? Right. What does this mean for how I'm going to parent my kids today? Right. Or even how the thoughts I'm going to entertain about myself and about the world. Right. Like it's wild if we actually would do that. Yeah. And a great realization and a great reminder even of a well-known story that this was an ongoing reality for the son now. And like, I guess, in that sense, you'd have to reflect on, I remember what it was like to be crawling with the pigs and to be longing for their food. And I'm never going to live like that again.
You know what I mean? And so, not that I'm portraying any sort of image of, but like living in sin, living in that kind of out of God's way, and that kind of thing. So it's like this idea of, what would it be like if we could reflect on that, make it part of our daily rhythm to remember, it's like a person like me. I grew up with Jesus. I was very young when I accepted the Lord, and thankfully, even in my wanderings as a young man, I never went too far. But I still even remember what it was like to be lost when I was out of the light, And so, and I rarely think about that. So like this kind of, what if we made that part of our rhythm to remember, to reflect on what it was like when we were away from the Father.
Yeah, in a far country.
In a faraway country. Yeah, when all our inheritance had been squandered and we had nothing, and God ran to us and He found us and He took us back, and that, I think that would change the way that we have conversations. It would change the way we approach our workplace, or
right. And how we approach people who are still in a far country.
Yeah.
Because we were there before too.
Yeah, wow.
Right? And it's like, not look at where I am now, but it's like, oh, I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, wow.
And this is how you get back. And we actually have this great answer for them. Anyway, speaking of, just as we close, that's a good reminder for us to take away with us. But speaking of eating with pigs, and I know Charlene always wants a food recommendation on the podcast.
Okay.
So what's like a great food recommendation we could just plant here for anybody who's been following along? I know of 2 people who keep lists of the places we recommend.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's this little like hole in the wall. It's not even a hole wall. It's actually like a food truck trailer out in Langley. If you take the 232nd exit and go out to Dreidiger Farms, Dreidiger Farms, something like that. It's a German name.
Okay.
They've got this Texas barbecue
it's
food
a
truck.
Texas smoke barbecue.
Yeah, and it is insane.
There's a couple of them out there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's one actually at 264th by my exit.
And there's one on 216.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right at the Milner Pet Supply.
Yes, there is. Yeah, so they've got a couple of different locations.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, their dinosaur ribs, the beef is so tender and it's unreal how good it is. So.
And if you go to the one on 216, right before you get there, if you're heading south, you just take a little, I forget the name of the street, but you got to cross over the train tracks. There's
Crush Crescent.
Is it?
It's Crush Crescent right
there.
You make a left turn.
Oh, I'm talking about the cheese farm.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know about the cheese farm.
There's a little Milner cheese farm.
Oh, okay, cool.
And it's all goat stuff.
Okay, cool.
And it's so delicious. I just went there on the weekend. So
Amazing.
if you want some cheese and you want some meats, but that Texas,
it's so good.
Oh my goodness, the food there is so good.
The pork and the pulled pork is good, but
all of it's delicious.
It's delicious. Yeah. But oh my gosh, those dinosaur ribs though are insane.
You're gonna smell like a barbecue when you go home.
Oh yeah,
because it's very smoky.
For sure.
Yeah. So anyway, no need to eat with pigs, but instead eat some
pig.
pigs. Yeah, eat some pigs. So okay, bless you, church.
Yeah, we love you. Bless you.
Unpacking Sunday is a podcast of Cariboo Road Christian Fellowship Church. If you're interested in more information, please check out our website at www.crcfchurch.com.